What's going on, people? It's your man the YB back once again. So we got some of Fabio Wardley's reaction to the Frazer Clarke fight. I talked about this in my main reaction video, but anyway, let's hear the bars right now. 100%, no doubt about it.
He's why he initially first picked me and took me under his wing, because he knew that was in me. He knew that heart was in me. I'm from the same cloth that he is. I'm built the same way he is. He's been in those wars and he's come up, and I'm going through them as well. So mine was going to come sooner or later. I don't want to be in too many more of them. I'm probably knocked off a few years of my life for that, but it's all in the name of a good bit of fun.
And lastly, Frazer's coming here already and said he really wants a rematch. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, look, it's an option, isn't it?
So we'll leave it there for now. There's another part I want to talk about as well, but let's address this main topic here. All due respect, I've listened to it back. He actually doesn't say what I thought he said. The first time I heard it, I thought he said, "Oh, I don't want any more wars like that." He said he don't want any more. No, he doesn't want. In fact, I can't even tell you what he said. Let's rewind it one more time. No doubt about it. Here we go. Rewind select.
And I'm going through them as well. So mine was going to come sooner or later. I don't want to be in too many more of them. I'm probably knocked off a few years.
I don't want to be in too many more of them. That implies that he wouldn't mind a few more. But either way, it's not ideal. Yeah? This is the risk, people, of... Well, it's not the risk. It's sport, right? Everyone's good when they're winning. Everyone happy punching someone up. All due respect, Nathan Gorman can't do nothing to fight back. Adelele couldn't or didn't want to do nothing about it. So when Fabio Wardley's going up there, letting his hands go and lighting everyone up, I mean, he half lit up Frazer Clarke. Frazer Clarke got his cherry popped. End of the day, first time Frazer Clarke's been on the mat in the professional game. So Fabio was doing well until Frazer Clarke got up and carried on, if that makes sense. Now he's reconsidering, whether it's to a large extent or a small extent. We won't know until Fabio Wardley gets back in the ring. The bottom line is, this is something, right? How do we know this is potentially relevant? Well, before the fight he said, "I love going to war. It's what I do. I choose to go there. I find peace in it." Right? After the fight, after his first real fight, that's what it was. And all due respect, I don't really think it was that tough for Fabio. Why? It wasn't like he was in there with a rugged competitor. That makes sense. In my reaction video I said, and anyone who knows boxing, no one can watch that Frazer Clarke performance and say Frazer Clarke was with it. Yeah, there was one man last night who turned up to actually have a fight, and it was Fabio. Frazer Clarke turned up. He may have turned up to win. He didn't turn up to deliver the things that Frazer Clarke talked about. Frazer Clarke talked about, "I can go to war." There was many times Frazer Clarke had Fabio Wardley on the ropes. Perfect opportunity to show us something. And Frazer Clarke opted to clinch, to back off, give him space. I couldn't believe it. At least 5 times and I'm someone who's backing Fabio. At least 5 times I was screaming like, "What the fuck? Get at this guy!" Because all I really care about is the sport. I back Fabio, but I ain't trying to suck dude off. If there's an opportunity for him to get punched up, that's what should happen in the natural course of a fight, right? I want to see a good fight. I want to see someone be victorious and seek out their destiny. It could have been, if Frazer Clarke had shown some, it could have been his destiny to have knocked Fabio Wardley out. No one can watch that fight and tell me Frazer Clarke couldn't have knocked out Fabio Wardley. Absolutely could have. Or at least tried to. In fact, I'd argue there was never a point, actually. Watching them 12 rounds back, there was never a point I could look in Frazer Clarke's eyes and say, "Hey, he's going for a stoppage right now." Can't do it. Not once. Fabio Wardley, on the other hand, there was 5 times I could look in his eye and say, "Hey, he's going for a stoppage right now." That said, based in the context of this clip I've played you, so Fabio Wardley had his first tough fight that wasn't really that tough. He wasn't fighting a man who won a fight. He was fighting a politica. And still, after that, it was grueling, no doubt. His face was bust up and whatever else, and he was tired. It was grueling, but he wasn't matched with someone who has his same tenacity. And still, it reset. Like, Fabio Wardley wasn't in there with a man who's trying to take his head off. He wasn't in there with a man who's trying to punish him. He was in there with a man who's trying to score points and win rounds. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what it was. Even so, though, 2 days ago, Fabio Wardley was saying, I love war. I want to go back there again. I love it there. Now, after his first half tough fight, alright, you know what? I don't really want any more of them. And listen, I believe Fabio, if he needs to, will show us 10 more of them. That's what I believe in Fabio. That said, I can't just ignore what the words come out of your mouth. Fabio Wardley could have come out and said, listen, he could have carried on the same narrative he had before the fight. Hey, listen, people, what you saw tonight, that's what I do. I've been going there. I want more of them. In fact, it wasn't grueling enough. In fact, Frazer Clarke, he ain't won it like I wanted it. Yeah? I was begging for Frazer Clarke to come get some when I was on the ropes. He didn't have it in him. He's sweet. That's how I'd have spun it. Yeah? I'd say, listen, I went back to the ropes, begging for Frazer Clarke to do some. He ain't do nothing. He backing off, he clinching. He ain't want me like I wanted him. I was the one who was setting about him. He never once set about me. He was political, political about things with me. We could have heard that narrative from Fabio Wardley. Instead, it's the same as AJ versus Klitschko. After AJ said to Rob McCracken, hey man, hey Rob, I need you to train me so I don't end up in situations like that. That's the wrong attitude. It's a slippery slope. Yeah, I mean, I've seen how detrimental, in my opinion at least, that's been for AJ's career. That mentality of the victim mentality. I don't really want to go there. It's a fight, people, right? Fabio Wardley was a footballer. Play football. If I believe every man, especially at this level, there's no doubt Fabio Wardley made $1 million for this. At this level, at the $1 million level, I expect everyone who get in that ring to be prepared to be in situations like that. Otherwise, do another sport. This is the fight game. This is the modern day gladiators, they call it. And the modern day gladiators shouldn't be, that was tough. I get it. Who wants to be it? Listen, I ain't saying I want to be there. Oh, why be? You wouldn't do it. I'm not a boxer. Get it? I'm saying, I believe that's the spirit you have to have. Especially this early in your career. In a fight that wasn't that bad. Fabio didn't go down, for example. And that's what I like about Tyson Fury to some extent. Yes, he's a cornball outside the ring. Yes, he ducks fights. Yes, he don't turn up. When he does turn up, though, you never see him really complaining. When he gets put down by Wilder, you don't come out and say, well, that was a bit tough fight. Don't really fancy doing that again. I've never heard what Fury say, that was tough and don't fancy going to that place again. It's almost as if Fury has like a psychological thing where, yeah, he don't really want to get in the ring, but once Fury gets in the ring, Fury will do anything not to turn up, pull out, duck fights. But once he gets in the ring, he's on it. He has that. He's almost a big build-up for him. It's almost like Fury says to himself, I can't just jump in there with everyone. It's going to take me 2 years to build myself up to know that I'm going in this ring and I'm coming out victorious or otherwise. I'm going to give it a good go. He never lets the hard fights he has discourage him once he's in the ring. Now, does it discourage him taking big fights? Probably. Clearly. Ducked Usyk, tried to duck Wilder again after. In fact, no, he washed. That's a weird thing about it. Fury washed Wilder in the second fight and then ducked him in the third fight. Weird. So who knows the psychology of Tyson Fury, but it's the wrong attitude based on evidence. The attitude of, yeah, I don't want to be having too many more of them. In a fight, or in boxing, really, the only thing you should be able to guarantee, right? That's what I've been saying. I believe the only thing in a fight you can guarantee is that you will fight like that. You can't guarantee you'll win. All you can guarantee is, hey, listen, I'm going to go out there and my hands are going to be swinging. I might get clipped, I might win, I might whatever. So it's taking control of your destiny. And one of the main factors, I've already told you, the only reason Fabio Wardley got a draw in that fight, it weren't for his technique, it was for his raw tenacity. If Fabio Wardley had lost that tenacity, he'd have lost easily, 10 rounds. It was sheer tenacity, not skill, that got him a draw in that fight and arguably won. The odds at the end of the fight were massively in Fabio's favour. And really, he should have won. I don't score fights on a point system. But if I did, Fabio won that fight. You can't I thought the low blow was rubbish, but accounting for the low blow and accounting for the knockdown, and Frazer Clarke was just so passive in the middle round. I don't see how someone can sit there and say Frazer Clarke won. That said, based on how I judge things, the fight was a draw. Fabio didn't show enough for him to win himself. Frazer Clarke certainly didn't show enough. Frazer Clarke did not go over and above. And it sets up for a fascinating rematch. But yeah, I just got a little bit of, not worry, because it make a scrap of difference to me, but we will find out in the next fight. If Fabio Wardley comes in there, yeah, and he's much more nervous and much more edgy, then that is normally how the story goes. People have a hard fight and then they don't want to go there again. Yeah, the very man who was saying, I love being there, that's what I do, I'm going to take you there. Now not too many more of them, thank you. And it wasn't that hard from his perspective. We've seen fighters, I'm trying to think of an example here. I don't know. Nigel Benn versus Eubank. Yeah? Fabio Wardley was the Nigel Benn or Eubank. But Fabio Wardley wasn't fighting a Eubank or a Nigel Benn, was he? That's the facts. Frazer Clarke was not a dogged competitor in there. He was political. Nothing wrong with that, but it's the truth, right? Imagine if Fabio Wardley had been in a fight with a man who actually want to hurt him. So it's discouraging to a small extent. Ultimately, the future will tell. But that change in psychology, to go from begging for it, I love fighting, I love getting in the mix, that's what I do, to saying, I don't really want to do that anymore, against a guy like Frazer who's pretty passive, it's not the best look. That said, it may tenderise Fabio towards learning to box some more, because the gap in boxing skills was evident. I wasn't expecting it, the bookies weren't expecting it, the punters weren't expecting it, for the gap to be that wide. It was clear one man was a boxer in there and one was essentially a white-collar fighter, I ain't gonna lie. I never saw that before. I thought Fabio Wardley could outbox Frazer Clarke. And based on what we saw last night, Fabio Wardley could never outbox Frazer Clarke. If anything, it was Frazer Clarke's lack of tenacity and Frazer Clarke's lack of gas tank that cost him this fight. It could have been a relatively easy night's work. If Frazer Clarke had kept that jab consistent, he could have probably got a stoppage. Fabio Wardley's eyes were already barely seeing, and Frazer Clarke didn't throw a meaningful jab for the last half of the fight. So anyway, and on this note, actually, I'll talk about this as well, because Fabio Wardley talks about what's next for him,
and I'm going through them as well. So mine was going to come sooner or later. I don't want to be in, or probably going to ask for that. I'm never going to count a draw as a win, but I've still got my belts, and there's still a lot of options on the table for me to look around. And whether it be the rematch, whether it be other options, whether it be something else, we'll take some time. I need 5 minutes or so, and then we'll reassess.
So I have to preface what I'm about to say now, because I have seen other interviews from Fabio, maybe after this press conference. I'm not sure about the timing, but bear in mind, at the time, I watched the post-fight press conference. Hearing this, it was discouraging for me. So, a minute before, he's talking about, I don't really want a hard fight anymore. And then the next minute, his thoughts on the rematch. Well, I've got the belt, so, I could maybe look at other options. Listen, again, don't get me wrong. In interviews after this, Fabio went on to say he can't forget about the rematch. As I thought he would, to be honest. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I was so shocked. I was shocked to hear Fabio don't really want to fight anymore. Or he's not really too keen on fighting hard anymore as such. I was shocked to hear, I've got other options. Other options and whatever else, these are things people say who ain't really want to squabble. Oh, I've got other options and I got the belts, and that was weak. Rematch, you need this one. And there's a chance you can knock his head spark off. I ain't gonna lie, as it stands, based on last night, I think Fabio Wardley's only chance is to knock his head spark off at some point. Boxing for boxing, I ain't see how we're gonna get a look in edgeways, unfortunately, and that is a paradigm shift for me. But yeah, end of the day, this press conference was only half an hour after the fight, so you can forgive people for what they say. It was just a bit iffy. These bars here. Yeah, I don't know about the rematch, and I've got other options. That is a money play. I get it. We've all got to make money. A lot of people say, oh, they got to make money. I don't really care about that. They can make their money. At the end of the day, people, they're all men. They're going to do what they're going to do. I don't have to go along with it, though. I don't have to pretend that I enjoy another man. I'm happy for people to make money, but I want them to make money doing what I want them to do, obviously, which is the spiritual thing to do. The spiritual thing to do is not fly out to Saudi and fight some dude out there for 10 million right now. The spiritual thing to do is to fight Frazer Clarke again. And that's where I come from. Yeah? What do the boxing gods want? I represent that. I don't represent, well, YB, he can get the bag. That's for someone else to do. That's for some other goof troop to do. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of channels, no doubt, say he should get the bag. Yeah? That not my job. My job is to tell you what the boxing gods want, and they want a rematch right now. Yeah? They ain't want to see you go out to Saudi get paid for what? You got unfinished business, unfortunately. It was a draw. Even if I thought you won the fight. Spiritually, it was a draw. Spiritually, neither man deserved to win that fight, based on what I saw. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe. Lick off the bell, 100%, no doubt.